Well, hello. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Off the Cuff Podcast, Postgame press conference reaction show edition of your Detroit Lions today. Man, what a game, and so many facets of the game. It was actually pretty good. And for a lot of it, it was really bad. Of course, you guys know I was at the game today, so I don't have a ton prepared, but I do want to talk about a few things. Obviously, I mean, there's a lot more questions than answers until we watch the tape, right? And man, there was so much to be proud of. Like, I mean, first off, Aiden, right? Even though he's winning against third string offensive linemen, which seems to be the case, phenomenal day. Phenomenal day. Well, why did it happen? DJ Reader bringing in that extra pressure, right? Taking on some double teams and forcing the Bucs to commit to DJ Reader. But again, I got to watch the tape. I couldn't watch, everything. You guys know that. But you just got the feeling that as soon as DJ entered that game, man, it totally turned this game on its head for the Bucs. But the offensive side of the ball, we couldn't capitalize. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some other things too. Let me pull up some stats here. I haven't even really been able to look at all the stats. I mean, I know they can't be great for the Lions. But again, here you go. You have a team that's held to 20 points or less, and what happens? They lose. You keep a good team below 20 points, they're going to lose almost every single time. You just so happen the Tampa Bay Bucs scored 20 today. 4 more than your Detroit Lions. All right. So for the day, which I'm sure you guys have heard all this, and it doesn't even seem like this is possible, but it's almost a mirror image of what we saw last week. Baker Mayfield, he only threw 19 passes. That's it. Doesn't seem legit. Doesn't seem like that's all it was. It was his legs. That's why we thought that he did more. And matter of fact, his rush yards, only 34 yards. Seems like there was way more than that, but there really wasn't. So anyway, Baker Mayfield, 12 of 19, 185 yards, 1 TD, 1 interception, 5 total sacks, QBR of 51, and Jared Goff's was even worse. Man, it's just a unbelievable day. You're sitting in the stands and everything's looking great. Guys they're playing lights out. Hutch is having a day. And then it just all comes crashing down. And it came crashing down for a few reasons. I mean, I'll give you my takes from the stands. Again, I really have to watch the tape to kind of figure out where things went wrong, in my opinion, through my eyes. Not that that's, always the correct version, but at least I want to see it, Let me see who's with us tonight. I know it's a late show. And I'm exhausted, man. I've been up since 4:30 again. Hey, Better, the Hunt's in the house, man. What's happening? Been a minute for you. Just got done elk hunting, huh? Maybe after I get this hip replaced and back redone again, maybe I can get my butt out there and go do some elk hunting. That'd be great. I'm going to need probably 2 years after all these surgeries are done. We got Trace in the house, of course. Mike P's in here. We got Braylon Dennis. He's already got a handful of deleted messages. Braylon's up to his usual. That's all right. We love you, Braylon. Corey Patterson's in the house. King SJ. Who else do we got in here? Bucky, Salty Pork Chops, Lone Wolf. Lions Talk Chat Sports. Kimber's in the house. What's happening, guys and ladies? Yeah, it's going to be a light show. It's not going to be a long show because I'm going to probably go over a lot more of this stuff in the morning. No, I'm not going to Arizona, so I'm going to be on it. I'll be doing the live play-by-play for that game, I think. Then you get the real reaction of what happens to Will in the stands during a real regular season game. Those days unbehaved. Not today. Before I go even into all of this crap, right? It's stats. Nobody wants to hear about stats right now. Jared Goff, 34 for, 55. I mean, he chucked. That's what I was going with in the beginning. Mirror image, right? He chucked the ball 55 times. When you can make a quarterback do that and you make him one-dimensional, right? And you can't run the ball effectively. At least we couldn't at times. We did at times, but it wasn't consistent. It was just spurts, right? When you average 6.5 yards a carry like Jahmyr Gibbs does, that's great. It's phenomenal. But if it's not consistent, right? If we're not able to run the ball consistently when we need to, when we want to, you force your quarterback to be one-dimensional with his arm. And again today, bracketed coverage on Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta disappeared out of this game. But then all of a sudden, Amon-Ra comes up with 11 catches. Super quiet day for him. 119 yards quietly. And I got so many notes, but here's the one thing that I want to point out to you guys. And I know I'm going to go all over the place, but Amon-Ra has he's got like this signature move. Before I even tell you what it is, do you know what I'm talking about when he catches the ball? He's got this signature move. And very few guys I've seen do it this way. There's one other Detroit Lion that I've seen do it this way. And I'm not saying that others don't, but it's kind of unique. I mean, he knows what he's doing. Let's just put it that way. So before I say what it is, do you guys know what I'm talking about? It's like right when he catches the ball, almost every single time. Yeah, Mike Fisher says timing and chemistry seems off with Goff. It is. It's early. It's week 2. I'm not going to make the excuse for Campbell, but I'm going to make the excuse for Campbell. This is why preseason does help. It does. Even if it's a series or two, that it does help. It gets your guys, it gets the oil warmed up, right? You get the crank moving, and you got to get the herky jerkiness out of it. Got to get things moving. It's like sitting down all day. Then you get up for the first time. You're like, oh, man, I hurt. It's like this team right now. 1 minute, they're just on it. And the next minute, they look like they've been sitting all day. So it's on the crossers. I mean, it's just about on any play. But yeah, Justin, it's the catch and bump in to take it to the sideline. Kind of. So what he does is when he catches the ball, he does like this glide step away from coverage. So if he's got, a DB to his left and he's running, a crosser, we'll just say he's running a crosser and he's coming, across the field and, the guy, the DB's hip to hip with him. Maybe he's off a couple yards or whatever. What if he catches the ball and he does like this little side glide every time he does a slide glide and he gives space. He's creating space. That's why he's able to do what he does. And it looks so effortless. He just creates that little bump of space. It's like this little bubble. And then he's able to get another 10, 12 yards out of the play. I do not see many doing that. Tim Patrick, before I forget, dude is going to be an animal for us this year unless for some reason someone gets a wild hair up their butt and doesn't think that he belongs, because he was open tonight. And I'm not saying like open after the play was developed. He was legit open on many plays. Many plays. Tim Patrick is going to be a great player for the Detroit Lions. I can see it. This was a great call. Everybody that wanted Tim Patrick to come to the Lions, you hit the nail on the head here. The dude fits, and he's got great hands. I watched him this morning warm up. Dude's got hands, man. Legit hands. Very impressed with his work today. 2 weeks on the team, and he knows what he's doing. He's going to be a baller. They got to give him the ball. Jared he's gun shy. I don't know what is going on with Jared today, but he was gun shy. Like even when the play was open, it's almost like he would wait an extra second before he was going to throw it to that guy anyway. Whether it was, Laporta or St. Brown or Gibbs or Monty, it doesn't matter who it was. It seems like Goff was like, okay, you're open. Now I'm going to throw it. Why'd you wait so long? I mean, you get that ball out, you get it in front of him, you get it in stride. And speaking of stride, remember how everyone said that Jared Goff couldn't hit J-Mo in stride? Man, that's all he does is hit this dude in stride. Big plays. They're getting there, guys. Like, look, don't panic. Do not panic right now. We're 1-1. We just dropped a game we shouldn't have dropped. Period. Point blank. End of story. Shouldn't have dropped it. Shouldn't have happened. Not when you have a defense that shows up the way that they did today. And imagine if everybody was healthy on this defense. Imagine if Marcus Davenport was in there. I'm glad that Houston got some action today. He's still a bit rusty, but he did help. His speed off the edge, you can tell it's there. He didn't lose anything. He just wasn't in enough. Anyway, I'm sideways on this show already. So let me just run through some stats real quick. Let me try to reel it in. And then I'm going to open up the phone lines here 10 minutes, 15 minutes tops. Just start yelling at me if you guys want to call in. Jahmyr Gibbs had a good day. You know, he did some good things with the ball today. A couple angry runs there towards the end. 13 of 84, 6.5 average on the day. No TDs. David Montgomery, 11 of 35. So mirror image, you know. Last week, Monty was the breadwinner with 91 yards. And I think Gibbs had 40. And now it's exact opposite this week. Last week, Matt Stafford was the breadwinner with, the passing yards, throwing for over 300. I said that Jared was going to throw for over 300, and he did. 34-55, though, that tells a much different story when you're only throwing for 5.6 average, no TDs, 2 interceptions. Didn't get sacked, which is kind of weird because he was under a ton of pressure, it seemed like. A 36 QBR and a 61.7 rating, man. That's just not going to cut it. Not going to cut it. Baker, again, 12-19, 185, 9.7 average, 1 TD, 1 pick, 5 huge sacks. The difference today was legs. Baker Mayfield, he was like a puppet master in that pocket. He could evade. The pressure was all around him. Guys got their hands on him. And he could evade, and he would just skirt out. It's the same thing that was happening to us, the last few seasons. With Justin Fields or Jalen Hurts, or it didn't matter who it was. We'd get pressure, we'd get around them, but we wouldn't get them down because there's nobody cleaning it up. There's nobody coming from behind to clean it up. There's no linebacker sitting there in the middle waiting, spying or doing anything. But of course, when you got 5 guys on the defensive line that should have all brought him down, do you really need a 6th? Can you afford to have a 6th? Probably not. Shout out Lost Angels. $1.99 super chat says Ben Goff trash defense 1. Yeah, Ben and Goff are to blame for a lot of this, but so is Dan Campbell, and he admitted it. He's taking the heat for his team today, but he admitted that whole snafu with the kick or the kick team running on the field there at the end of the second half or second quarter. That was all his fault. You make that kick, you're only down, 2? At that point, you get to where you were on the field today, you make that kick, you're up 1. Or, you're up 2. So, game over. 2 field goals today. And we were in position, not once, but twice in the last 3 minutes to kick a field goal. So, we could have legit won by 5 points today with 3 field goals added onto this score. But yeah, there's a lot here. There's so much in this game. I have a feeling when I watch this tape, it's not going to look good. Tape review is going to be Tuesday night. I'm going to need all day tomorrow to go through this and watch it all day, over and over and over, as much as I can tomorrow. A lot of action, though, in the passing game. When you throw over 300 yards, a lot of guys are going to touch the ball. Jared Goff hit 9 guys tonight. Well, take that back, 8. Tom Kennedy didn't register a catch. Tim Patrick, though, 2 for 12. Sam Laporta, 2 for 13. That's got to change. Sam Laporta, we expected some sort of a regression this year because people, teams, they know who this guy is. They've got tape on him now. Huge ups tonight. Vaki, come on, man. Dan Gamble's of the game. I can't wait to talk about that one tomorrow. Sione Vaki, huge catch tonight. Huge. Awesome hands. Jahmyr Gibbs, 7 for 22. Khalif Raymond, big catches tonight for Khalif Raymond. 3 for 27. David Montgomery, 4 for 35. Of course, the Waymo JMO train keeps it rolling. 5 for 79. 15.8 yard average for J-Mo. Lions pretty much kept Mike Evans in check tonight. But like I said in the pregame show, if you keep one in check, you've got to watch for the other. And Chris Godwin went off tonight. Now, he only 117 yards, which to me, that's palatable. Like, I'm okay with that. You just have to do all the little things right. And tonight we did all the little things wrong. So much was going wrong. Big plays up front in the D-line, and the back end kind of collapses. Let's talk about these refs for just a second. Let's talk about these refs. Man, did they start our game off on the wrong foot. If you were in that stadium tonight, maybe that's why they brought in the SWAT team later on throughout the game. You had all the SWAT trucks, in the building or around the building. Lions fans were not happy with these refs. Not happy. And nor should we have been. Terrion Arnold's pass interference. It should have never been called pass interference. If anything, and this is shameful, I listened to somebody from Fox 2 on the way home from 97.1 that was on 97.1 The Ticket. I don't know her name, but she said it was holding on another pass interference, right? That it was holding. It wasn't holding. I'm going to talk about that one in a minute with J-Mo. But anyway, what a shameful call. Number one, it wasn't pass interference. If anything, they could have called illegal hands to the face or hands to the face there in the end zone. Look, he got his head around. What he didn't do last week, he didn't get his head around. Today, he gets his head around, makes a play on the ball. He's now a receiver. He's got a 50-50 shot just like anybody else. He made a play. I thought it was pretty clean. Really ticky-tacky to start the game. Really ticky-tacky. That's a call you don't call. Way too close. But it's a rookie, and he's not going to get the benefit of the doubt. So Dan Campbell's not going to take that aggression away from him, and nor should he. That's not what lost us this game. The non-call, okay? So the one I was just talking about. Jared Goff's first interception. That is not Jared Goff's fault, and it was an almost identical Sam Laporta play from last year. Almost identical route. Remember when Jared threw a pick, and I think it was in the Rams game. I think it was in the Rams playoff game. I can't remember now. But either way, almost identical. You guys know what I'm talking about. J-Mo gets illegal contact. It's not holding. It was illegal contact after 5 yards that happened with J-Mo. And then he was impeded, right? He was impeded. He couldn't run his route, and obviously the ball went to the wrong color. Wrong color jersey. So was not holding. It was illegal contact. Could have been called pass interference. Sure. Absolutely. Should have been a flag no matter what. I don't care what you call at that point. There should have been a flag. That should have not have been an interception, especially after the BS that they just threw on Terrion Arnold. If you're going to call that on Terrion Arnold and you're not going to turn around and call that on Tampa, that's just egregious. It's terrible. There was a lot of BS going on in this game with these refs, and then they kind of just, quite honestly, they kind of just disappeared. Right, the refs kind of got it. Like, all right, we're just gonna let them play. But in the very beginning, that's all it took was to allow Tampa Bay to get those 2 field goals. Those 2 plays allowed those 2 field goals. And that's all it took to win this game tonight. But we're not going to blame the refs. This is the Detroit Lions just being a little rusty. We're fine. Look, we've played 5 playoff games. We've played 5 playoff games in a row. Usually, if you play 5 playoff games, you would have won a Super Bowl by now. If you won them all. This is the first one the Lions lost. After the NFC Championship game, I guess. So really, it's the second of 5 that we lost. But you know what I'm saying. Los Angeles, another $1.99 super chat says, what happened to our offense is the question. 16? So, I don't know, man. Honestly, sit in the stands watching this tonight. It's like, Gibbs, Armani, one of them is working, right? The running game's working, and then all of a sudden it's like, nope, let's do something different now. Or for whatever reason, Goff just was holding the ball. Let me try to get to some notes here. I mean, you can blame the defense for some of this too, but honestly, they gave us way more opportunities tonight than the offense gave them opportunities. I mean, they really stood up tonight. My goodness, if Tampa Bay is this good of a team and this defense just did what they did to that offensive line, imagine what's going to happen when, we do have everyone healthy, number one. Number two, we aren't rusty, right? And things are clicking, and AG's got things dialed in. Like, I'm talking week, 6, 7, 8, when it's locked in. This is going to be an extremely dangerous defense. Could be the best defense in the league if they get it together. Like, for instance, here's my fifth possession on the Bucs. A wide open 17-yard play. They have to stop these. Now, I have to obviously look at the tape to marry this up, and I'm sitting here saying that no one can run on us. No one can run on this defense. And I think that's pretty evident when, what was my call? I said that they wouldn't have 60 yards of yards on the ground, right? That was my call. They had 70. They had 70 tonight. And that's because Baker Mayfield put up 34, but their running backs, they didn't even have 40. So my call was partially right on that. Pretty damn close. Baker's maybe the best at evading a rush, and he was. I mean, he was crazy tonight. I mean, the guy had like cat reflexes. Huge play on his fifth possession against the Bucs. It was 3rd and 7. We showed blitz, and Branch gets a pressure interception. I mean, that was all pressure, and he was married between the cornerback and the nickelback. I don't remember who was in. I got to watch the tape. That's why I make the note. And Branch, I mean, he's right in between them. Right in betwixt them. Camouflaged, right? Pulled a Kirby. Beautiful play. Lions' second possession in the second half. I was looking for a dirty play on Bucs number 8 on tackling J-Mo. I'm going to key in on that play because when you look at it, it looks like when he tackled him, he gave a little extra to try to jab his shoulder into the ground, try to injure his shoulder, while he was tackling him. So, I mean, the Bucs were playing, a little dirtier than I expected, but it was a pretty clean game. Again, though, we beat Baker. We beat him, but his legs beat us. Way too much dancing around on third down. Man, we just couldn't wrap them up when we really needed to. But again, here's what I'm going to wind back to on defense. I'm going to get into the chat. So I know you guys are all excited about all these sacks, okay? And there's certain elements to this where people say that you need sacks, and if you get sacks, they win the game. That didn't happen today. He had 5 sacks by one player. Matter of fact, I don't even know if he was credited with all of them. He probably shouldn't have been. Let's see if he was. Sacks. Nope, he got a half. Still 4.5 sacks for Aiden. It's an incredible night. Levi did get credited with the half, according to ESPN. So, yeah, you get 5 sacks in the game tonight and you still don't win. I said that the Lions would have had 4 sacks in this game. That was my call on Friday. I said that they would get 4, and they outdid me by 1, which is great. So, again, sacks are not the end-all be-all. They're not. Coverage is. And coverage and sacks together is going to win you a championship. Hands down. Tonight, it wasn't the defense that lost us this. It was the defense that really kept us in this game. The offense fell apart. Ben Johnson is too vanilla. Ben Johnson clearly has been figured out a little bit here. I think that's what we're seeing. It's early in the season. I don't think that they're trying to use all of their playbook, because the minute that they did that play with St. Brown and who was it? Was it St. Brown and Gibbs? They brought St. Brown back behind the line of scrimmage, right, as a running back off to the right of the quarterback, and Gibbs was off to the left. As soon as they started doing something with a little bit of pizzazz, a little bit of trickery, right? Well, Tampa Bay couldn't stop it. But all the other plays just seemed to be kind of same old stuff. Same old stuff. People know this stuff. The teams have seen it. They got all of last year to look at to see what we do. And yes, usually teams like to take a few weeks to kind of implement, roll in more plays as they go, because you don't want the full playbook out there early in the season. So that way you have things to utilize later, right? I mean, that's no secret. But when you're in a game like this, and it's getting that tight, man, you got to open up. Now, I get it. They haven't practiced some of these plays this last week. They haven't installed some of these plays this week. So the team's not ready for these plays. Or maybe that's just what they think, that they're not ready for them. So that's why they don't run them. We know that they're there. We know that the plays are there. The Vaki play, I think, tells you enough. We got guys on this team that can make plays. Jared Goff, he was throwing some darts tonight. For whatever reason, again, I have to watch this tape, because why on earth is Sam Laporta ghosted from this team? Why did he miss Tim Patrick so many different times when he was wide open? I don't understand it. And why did J-Mo have a hot start and then disappear? So it's like, again, they use what's working. I mean, was J-Mo only supposed to get a few balls tonight and he used them all up, and so now it's on to the next one? I don't know. If it were me and if I was game planning, yeah, I would try to, go quarter by quarter and say, okay, this quarter I want to go heavy Gibbs, heavy Amon-Ra St. Brown, sprinkle in a little bit of Laporta if needed. See what I can do. And then the next quarter, all right, we're going to roll. And depending on what's going on with Gibbs, if he's got a hot hand, you got to keep him going. But the minute he starts to slow down or he's getting tired, then you sprinkle Gibbs back in. Or you put Monty back in. But maybe in that second quarter, you're kind of going away from Amon-Ra St. Brown. You're using him as you need him, because maybe the defense has now looked at this and said, okay, we're gonna bracket down on Amon-Ra. We're gonna limit him. Well, that's gonna open Laporta. So each quarter you can almost go to a different guy, and then in the fourth quarter, you just go to everybody. The first three quarters, you just kind of mixing it up. But limit who you're going to. If it's working, it's working. If it's not, go to the next guy. It's easier said than done, but I think you understand what I'm saying. Try to use a different set of guys each quarter, and you keep the defense guessing. They go into the next quarter prepared for, okay, Amon-Ra's been doing this all game. That's what he's going to do. Nope, switch it up on him. Run the routes in reverse, right? Set up on this side of the field versus this side of the field. Do everything in reverse. But I feel like the playbook's a little vanilla right now. I really do. We know that Ben Johnson has it. And we know that Dan Campbell is an offensive genius when he wants to be. He's got his fingerprints all over this. It's early. This is a game we shouldn't have lost. So Los Angeles, again, another $1.99 super chat, man. Really appreciate you jumping in here tonight. So question is, Baker really beat us, or did we beat ourselves? Man, that's a great question. I'd say it's a little bit of both, because Baker's legs kept that team alive. And man, does he got a cannon for an arm. Baker has such a smooth release. And he's a damn good quarterback. But you can't have a coaching error like that in the end of the second half. You just can't. And I don't know what in the world happened at the end of the fourth quarter. Like, you are in scoring distance. We get into the red zone all night, and you can't do anything with it. And I don't know the red zone stats. I don't have it pulled up yet. But You get into the red zone, you stall out. At what point is that going to register? At what point do you have your analytics guys upstairs telling you at the end of every quarter, during the little intermission between every little quarter, and you say, hey, look, this is your analytics, the red zone, this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing from the 30. This is what we're doing from the 20. This is what we're doing from the 15. It's just not working. Like, we're getting in the red zone. It's not working. The red zone D is way too tight. You get down to the 10, 12, 15 yard line, and all of a sudden, what you could do out in the 30 is gone. You can't do it no more. Not with a defense like this. It was that fast, that aggressive. This defense was way too quick. And even though they were missing a lot of guys, they were way too fast. And Bowles, look, he runs a very aggressive ship. Very aggressive defense. Levante David's one of the best to do it. Vita Vea, one of the best to do it at their position, respectively. But their corners and their safeties, very, very quick. So when you get down to the 10, 12, 13 yard line, everything changes. But I didn't see a bunch of out routes, trying to capitalize clock management. I didn't see plays that would get us beyond the sticks when we need first downs. That is my biggest pet peeve. When you need a first down, why are you not getting beyond the sticks? Run a comeback route. Run a curl. If you need 10, go 13, come back 2. Or, go 12, come back 3, but you better lean for 1. You know where I'm going with this? I mean, it just doesn't seem like there was enough attention paid to where we were on the field. And when we were in deep into the red zone, we could not pass the ball at all. So that limited us to run. And then they read it all day. I mean, we were doing some real stupid stuff. Some real dink and dunk type stuff that just didn't make any sense. The pass right at 2 minutes, 12 seconds. It was to the left. Goff just kind of dirted it in the flats, I think. They got us to the 2 minute warning. It was almost like whatever. I think there was a whistle or a flag or something before that. I don't know, ref was saying something. I don't remember what he was saying, but it was about 2:17 when that happened, and I think the play was around 2:12. I got it in my notes. I'm gonna have to go back and look at it. But tonight, were the refs impactful? Yes, they were. They absolutely were. Was DJ Reader impactful? Yes, he was. You guys now see what interior pressure is going to do. You are now going to see what Aiden Hutchinson is going to be able to do. The minute DJ Reader was inserted in this game tonight, snap 1, play 1, it was an all-out dogfight. I don't like the fact that people are bought way too in on this 5 sacks because it was a third string right tackle that he was kind of beating up all night. We gotta understand here that this wasn't their starter. This wasn't Godecki. If Godecki was, it would have been a much different game. Probably still had 2 or 3 sacks though, for sure, but not 5. That's rare, and that's that follows Aiden with his career. He does tend to do very well against the lower competition. When the big time starters are in there, he seems to struggle with some one-on-ones. But this also may all change now. Like if Aiden gets true one-on-ones now, where he's not having to worry about getting chipped or the occasional double or whatever, and it's all shed down to Reader and Aleem, Davenport and Hutch both are going to be able to eat. But Hutch had a phenomenal game, man. His ceiling is still so high. He's just got to get there. Tonight was incredible for him. Super proud of him, man. Awesome game. And, he showed up when we needed some plays. And that was the difference tonight, too. He showed up when we needed some plays. All right, let me get into the chat now. I know you guys have been patient with me. I apologize. So Travis Scott says, what I want to know is where in the hell was our running game? Montgomery yet again is getting taken out of the game until we are in trouble, and we need him. Passing the ball 55 times is terrible. Yeah. So, that's what happens when you're down and you can't move the ball, right? You're down, you can't move the ball. And you've got to pass. And, they were just milking our clock, right? Let me go back to time possession. I don't even think I shared that, did I? What was time possession? I do want to bring in Dan Campbell real quick, too. This dude wears it on his sleeve, man. He really does. That's why he's so well respected. This one stings. Like, this is the loss. Let me put it this way. We almost need this kind of a loss. I know that sucks to say it because I didn't see a loss on this board for a long time this season. But when you have an early one like this that stings, you kind of need it, right? It kind of makes these guys get recentered. They get humbled, little humble pie. They go and look at it. They dissect it a little bit or a lot. And they're going to come back, headed off to Arizona, a much different team. And they're going to need it. Because Arizona, like I've been saying since the offseason, is a very good team. With a lot of weapons. And they needed this loss to kind of refocus and recenter themselves a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So, again, Travis, I really don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know where it went. I mean, our run game worked when we needed it to, but it didn't any other time. Yeah, John Desage says, I'm happy that this eye-opener happened early in the season. Me too. Me too. Tafka Day says, outside the quarterback still on rookie contracts, Mayfield's contracts has to be the most bang for the buck quarterback contract in the NFL. 1,000%, man. 1,000%. Salty Pork Chop says, I called the final record is 11-6. I hope it's better than that because we're going to need more than that to get the 1 seed. Full Slate Farms, hey, welcome back in. Been a minute. He says this loss sucked because the offense has not looked good in 2 weeks. You know, we're rusty, man. We're like tin men out there. Everyone needs a little bit of oil. We'll be all right. Exactly like last year's loss to the Seahawks, Eric. Yep, that was on my mind too. That we had a real tough loss to the Seabirds, Sea Chickens, whatever you want to call them, last season. But man, they completely pounded us into the ground. That wasn't this kind of a game. Like, we pounded them into the ground tonight and still lost. So again, here's what it goes back to. I'm gonna say it again because it burns me up. You go trotting your field goal unit out there when you're about to spike it. That's 3 points off the board. Jake Bates is 100% on the season so far. So that's 3 points off the board. Right? And then at the end of the fourth quarter, not once, but twice in the last 2.5 minutes of the game, you are within scoring position. Not only that, but if you want to go back another possession, Jake Bates had an attempt at 58 yards. He's kicked a 64-yarder in that building. Give him a shot. And I know Dan said, well, I thought that we, had, a couple more possessions out of this. Well, you just never know, right? At some point, you at least got to try to take the points. And nobody would have been mad if Jake Bates missed that field goal. Yes, you would have turned the ball over around, would have been what, the 42-yard line-ish, somewhere in that range? Yeah. East-West Talks says Goff played like trash. Yes, he didn't have the best day. But I think there's a lot more to this than just blaming him. He'll be the first one to tell you he didn't have a good day. He'll be the first one to tell you he missed some things. And I'll be the first one to tell you that Hendon Hooker is not your savior. He is not. I don't know if anyone's talking about that yet, but I'm sure it will start flying tomorrow. Hendon Hooker is not your savior. He's absolutely not. He probably would have got trounced in this game. Tour says, did Stafford play like trash last week? It's a good question. Did he? Corey Patterson says, bro, I'm not relaxing and I ain't letting him off. Every other player gets it. So does he. That was horrible. Must be talking about Goff. Oh, let's see here. East West Talk says 4 INTs in 2 games is too much. It is. And if you remember last year, let me pull up last year's stats. Goff had a rash of interceptions. And then he just turned it off like a faucet. In the beginning of the season, he had a tough go at it. And then he just turned it off. And I think that you guys got to remember too that part of the blame here is Dan Campbell. Like, he does not want these guys playing in the preseason. Go look at the teams that are playing well right now. I would be interested to know how many of them played a couple of series in the preseason. I would like to know. The Chiefs, didn't they play some starters against us? They're 2-0, aren't they? Certainly are. Certainly are. Let's see here. Jared Goff had no interceptions in game 1 of last year against the Chiefs. I think the Sea Chickens game, he threw a couple. And he threw 1. So he threw 1 in the first 2 weeks last year. So far, he's got 4. But that first one tonight, that was not his fault. You can't say it was his fault. It was a penalty that wasn't called. And it's the same thing that happened last year. He threw his second interception against the Falcons. The difference is he's usually throwing touchdown passes, right? So when he has a couple of interceptions early in the season, they're usually offset by some touchdown passes. Well, that's not happening, which is going to bring me to probably my last major point, because I want to discuss a lot of this tomorrow on the morning show. How do I want to say this? Hold on, let me go back to this last game here. So against the Packers in week 4, I think that's where Goff threw 2. Nope, he only had 1 there too. So anyway, this is my biggest gripe with this offense being so slow and sluggish right now. I said this last year about Ben Johnson's offense. And this is just something that I've come to realize. We do not take shots at the end zone. Like ever. It is so rare. I remember a couple that went to, like Amon Ra at the, doorstep of the end zone, and Laporta in the back of the end zone. I really don't remember a lot of them in the end zone last year that were, from further than 20 yards out. The Lions, they just don't take shots at the end zone. And I think that is a problem when you look at the roster, and tonight it is the end of the game and you have to score a touchdown, and Tim Patrick is on the sideline. He's the tallest receiver you have, and you have him on the sideline. That made 0 sense to me. But you know what it told me? We're not going to the end zone. You've got 12 seconds left in the game and you're not throwing the ball in the end zone? Almost every team in the NFL is going to take 2 shots in the end zone. At least do that and try to get a pass interference penalty and get another free play. Even if time runs out, you're going to get another free play. So that is my biggest gripe tonight with this, no matter what else happened in this game. Hutch, phenomenal game. Reader, absolutely a dog. Great game for him. The way that he stepped up in his first game, you could tell he was exhausted at times. J-Mo did what he could do. Amon-Ra had a great game, even though he was like missing the entire game. He just quietly does what he does. Gibbs did what he had to do or what he could do at times. I mean, stats are the stats. They don't tell the whole story. Why in the hell are we not throwing the ball into the end zone? What is the point of having a 6'5" Sam Laporta or a 6'4" Tim Patrick on your team if you're not going to take a shot into the end zone? And utilize the other part of the game, which is go create a pass interference penalty. I think that there's an element from these receivers on this team currently that they're not using. You see it all the time with Aiden Hutchinson. He's always trying to get the penalty, always trying to get the holding call. And refs are hip to it. That's why they're not giving it to him. Because it's like, the boy who cried wolf. He's just constantly asking for the holding penalty every time he's rushing the quarterback and doesn't get there. But I don't see that from our receivers. I mean, they'll kind of throw their hands up like you really didn't see that? But they're not pounding their chest. They're not making a big deal out of it. Sometimes you got to make some noise. Or better yet, you have to learn how to cause a penalty. You have to learn how to put your body in position to create it's another trick, it's another bag of tricks, I guess. It's just a trick in the bag of tricks. How do I create a penalty to help my team? How do I get pass interference called? Well, you put your body in the right position. If you're not going to catch the ball, go put your body in the right position and you take a fall or whatever it is, and now you're getting a flag thrown. Be a good actor, right? I mean, that's part of the game. You see great receivers do this all the time. All the time. When the game is on the line, they're doing whatever they can to try to win. And I'm not saying our Lions don't do that. Like, I'm not saying that they don't do whatever they can to try to win, because they do. But I just don't see that element, that part of the trickster in them. I just don't see it. Zachary Cleary says every quarterback has a bad game every once in a while. So that's another thing. People get on Goff so quickly. I don't know if he's got like a punchable face or what it is, but they just want to trash this man like yesterday's garbage or yesterday's news, like immediately. Go look at what this man's record is and what he's done since 2022 or the second half of 2022 forward. He is one of the winningest quarterbacks in the NFL. He has probably top 3 stats in the NFL. All stats, passing, passing TDs to interception ratios, you name it. He is all over the stats. He's done an excellent job protecting the ball. His efficiency rates, evading pressure, you name it. All the stats that matter besides running the ball, he's at the very tippy top of the charts. Playoff wins, he's up there too. Playoff appearances. And now he's just basically played 5 playoff games in a row. Tampa Bay, or the Rams, Tampa Bay, San Francisco, the Rams, and Tampa Bay. Those are his last 5 games. And he's only lost 2. That's pretty solid. And in one of them, he had a bad game. And that was today. I'm good with it. I am absolutely good with it. I think he'll be fine. What was the halftime flub? Cue ball? Are you talking about the kick team running on the field when they were about to spike it? Yeah, Tafka Day says the trash talking kind of reminds me of the disrespect Kirk Cousins has gotten throughout his career. Yeah, Kirk's he's a solid quarterback. He really is. He's a good dude. He's a good family man, good husband, whatever. But he's a solid quarterback. But he's never gotten his team to the other side, right? The other side of the mountain. Goff has gotten his two teams, all the way up to the tippy top of the mountain twice. One time in the Super Bowl, another time, one game before the Super Bowl. I mean, there's only a handful of people in the world that could say that, right? In the Super Bowl era, I mean, how many quarterbacks have done it? Not many. Not many. What is that? What Super Bowl are we in? 50 what? 55? What Super Bowl number are we this year? $58. So there's 116 quarterbacks that has started a Super Bowl in the entire world. And out of those 116 quarterbacks, like, 7 of them at least were Tom Brady? So that number dwindles a little bit. 5 of them was Pat Mahomes, and yeah. So you guys get the point. Second place is never okay, Corey. Ever. It is never okay. But the point that I'm trying to make is we have a really damn good quarterback. We have a really good team. We have one of the best coaches in the league. Everyone is okay to have a mistake every once in a while. Tonight was just one of those days, man. It just was. They just weren't having a good day. Travis Scott says, my problem with Goff is the fact that when he is pressured, he is a mid quarterback at best. If he doesn't have protection, he is terrible. This is why I can't justify saying Goff is a top 10 quarterback. Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, let me ask you this, Travis. Where would you rank Tom Brady without a good line? Because Tom Brady averaged 29 rush yards a season over 23 seasons or whatever it was he played in the NFL. He averaged 29 yards per season, not per game, not per month, per quarter, season. That's like 2.5 rush yards a game. Not very mobile. So I'd say he's still a pretty damn good quarterback, right? Yeah, Bruce, there's my problem. Oh, Bruce, you're going to get me off on a tangent with Hutch and them because here's the problem. I said it today. It's great we got sacks against the third string quarterback. That is great. If you guys want that, so be it. I'm happy for you. And yes, it looks great in a stat line. And yes, it feels great when it's happening. And it looks great when it's going down. But then there goes Baker right through the middle of the line because nobody can get him down and everyone is engaged and we don't have a spy over top of Baker. And he just mentioned, Bruce did, when everyone realizes we're having a problem next week because Kyler Murray and how good he was playing today, and he's a damn good mobile quarterback, the kid's probably going to dice us up. Because we for whatever reason, we just can't learn to contain. It's either over contain or sack. Over pursuit or a sack. Every time. This tape is going to be a little bit different because you're going to see where Hutch and others get behind Baker and make the sack from behind, which is fine. But when you get behind Baker and you leave this wide open hole and there's nobody in front, right? You leave this wide open hole and Baker finds that hole. Well, Kyler's going to find it. And Kyler's a hell of a lot faster than Baker. And every time he goes and sprints for a first down, you just gave him a fresh set of downs. And you just wore out your defensive line because they're working that hard to try to get a sack. Sometimes you don't have to send 5 guys all the time. And that's what we did. Tonight we sent like 5 guys often. And yes, I started seeing the linebacker shooting tonight. which I thought was going to happen. We didn't see any DBs getting back there. But we are firing Anzalone and Campbell tonight. So I am worried that, yes, our greed for wanting sacks is going to come to bite us back hard. Because sometimes pressure is good enough, and sometimes containing with middle pressure will do just fine, and the sacks will come. You just got to let them come naturally. Does anybody want to call in tonight? Because I got to end this here pretty soon. John Desage says, I agree, Will. We do have a really good team and quarterback, but Goff is definitely the least talented player in our offense. I still think he holds us back offensively a tad. Yeah, I don't think so. Not me personally. But I respect your opinion. I mean, I respectfully agree to disagree. You know, I think that Goff is perfect for this offense. I'm not saying that if we didn't have a mobile quarterback that had an amazing arm and a brain like Jared Goff, that wouldn't be better. But see, the thing is Goff pre-snap, even though he's had some difficulty pre-snap this season? My goodness. Can you tell I'm tired? Even though he's had some difficulty pre-snap this season, albeit limited, Goff is a pre-snap sniper. Like he legit is a pre-snap sniper. He is so good at figuring out the defense, making the calls, and just listening. The guy just listens, right? He doesn't hurry up and go and snap the ball. He waits. He listens to all their defensive calls, and he's calling out his calls, right? You know, you go in motion this way, and you get behind me over here, and, you know, hey, Panay, you know, that's your mic or whatever. You know what I mean? He's making all of his calls that he needs to make. He's a pre-snap sniper. That's why we get into such a good rhythm at times. But if we can't get into a rhythm, I mean, the whole offense will fail. So I would be careful because there's not many quarterbacks like Jared Goff that are that intelligent. An extremely smart quarterback that has a talented arm, right, can beat you 9 out of 10 times. The guys that aren't as witty or as sharp or getting, you know, and the other thing is the progressions, right? He gets through his progressions extremely quick. And that's why he's able to get the ball out. Some guys don't have that level of moxie or comfort or calmness. They're just, you know, all go all the time. And their brain doesn't ever settle down. Goff, I mean, as soon as the play is dead, I mean, the guy is like right back into his zen zone, and he just goes back to doing what he needs to do. Figuring out the defense, making his calls, reading his progressions, getting the ball out. That is Goff 9 out of 10 times. Tonight, that was that 10th time he just didn't have a great game for whatever reason. And I'm not going to hold it against him because it's more than just Goff. It absolutely is more than just Goff. Dan Campbell, I mean, he admitted tonight was his fault. You know, again, let's go back to what I said now for this will be the third time. If that damn kick unit doesn't run on the field at the end of the second half and get a 10-second runoff, that's 3 points. That is now 20-19. And at the end of the fourth quarter, again, kick a field goal. You win. Game over. And I know it's not that easy because what you do will affect what they do, and you know what they do will affect what you do throughout the rest of the game. But tonight was a very difficult game on both sides of the ball. Oh, J-Rod, you know someone's always bashing Goff, dude. Always. Always, always, always. But you know what I heard in the stands tonight? I don't know if any of you were there, but all I heard that when Goff had a bad pass or, a bad series, all I heard on the very next play was Jared Goff, Jared Goff, Jared Goff. The chants would just start rolling. You know why? Because the fans back him because of what he's done and what they know he is. Everybody has a bad day. We can chalk it up to Jared Goff having a bad day. He'll be the first one to tell you, I had a bad day. That takes real leadership, and that's what keeps a team together. That's what keeps a team playing well later in the season. And I would rather have that all day long than some guy that can run fast with a ball in his hands and maybe make a few passes here or there. Because the minute that you don't have that guy that runs fast, that maybe gives you 60, 70 yards a game on the ground, and he's injured, now what? Do you know how much harder it is to replace a dual threat quarterback than it is a pocket passer? I don't think we've ever really had that conversation on this show. How much harder it is to replace a Lamar Jackson, a Kyler Murray, a Patrick Mahomes, than it is to replace Joe Burrow, Jared Goff, Trevor Lawrence, who can also run, right? Josh Allen, who doesn't prefer to run, but he can run. He's a pocket passer. He just can do both. But you get the point that I'm trying to make. It's harder to replace that 40, 50, 60, 70 yards and a touchdown on the ground that he gives you every game than it is to replace 40, 50, 60 yards through the air. And it's much harder to replace a talented brain that can put you into the right calls, before every play. Yeah, buddy. So the teams are, man, they're taking Laporta and St. Brown out. This bracketed coverage stuff, I said it in the offseason. I said, we are so screwed if someone figures out how to limit us. And I guarantee you Todd Bowles watched that Rams tape after the game and said, scratch everything we just did this week. This is what we're doing. And that's why I got to watch the tape, because I have a feeling that they did a lot of the same things. But instead of them sticking with St. Brown, they then went to JMO in Laporta and started to limit them more often than they were St. Brown and Laporta, because JMO disappeared. But Tim Patrick was open tonight so many times. The dude is going to be a playmaker for us. I'm super excited about Tim Patrick now. All right, I didn't see anyone say that they wanted to call. I want to bring in Dan Campbell for just a moment, if you guys want to bear with me here. Let's listen to him. I don't know. I'm sure you guys all listened to him already. But I just want to hear the beginning of his press conference tonight. I mean, this dude he's wearing it. He is so wearing it.
I would tell, Coach Bowles over there, it's a good job, man. Those guys, once again, it's our third match with them, and, they go all out over there. And once again, just play, give you everything they've got. It's an unbelievable competition. And so, congratulations to those guys, the way they played. That's one. Two is, I asked for improvement from last week, was the story. And we did improve. And their coach cost them. Their head coach cost them this one. So, critical error. And
this is why I have so much respect for this dude. It is not often that a head coach will come up here and willingly give you this information. Willingly say it was his fault. I don't know that I've ever heard Bill Belichick come up to a mic and say it was my fault. In this way, in this format. I think he would probably say next question. Someone else have a question. I'm not dogging Bill. I mean, Bill's a good dude. I mean, he's especially funny now in the role that he has. But Dan Campbell wears his heart on his sleeve, and that's why this team really, really sticks by him.
And a half, and 100% on me. We improved. There's areas we got to continue to improve on, but it's not okay. So. Anyway, we fought. We got down there. Certainly offense, we double up in yardage. We get down the red zone. We can't get, TDs. And that was kind of the story of the game. Defense, I thought, played lights out. Gave us two shots there at the end of the game, and we just couldn't finish it out.
All right, so let's talk about that for a moment. All of those people that were clamoring that AG needed to be fired, right? You know who you are. And all I kept telling everyone last year, and what I kept saying, trying to preach, was he doesn't have the personnel yet. We were half a season away. We needed that fourth draft. We needed that fourth offseason. He just needed his personnel. And tonight, in almost every time over the last few seasons, when our defense is really starting to click, the offense doesn't clack. The offense just kind of falls apart. The minute that these two get to clicking and clacking together, it's going to be damn near unstoppable. No one is going to be able to stop this motor when it gets rolling. Tonight, the defense stepped up. I mean, you've got 2 minutes. I think it was a minute and a half or so when Tampa got the ball back. And they flip the field again and give us like 40 seconds on the clock with a full set of downs. I mean, I was ready to start walking up. I mean, everyone was walking up, but I usually try to sit there till, the triple zeros are on the clock. I'm like, there's just no way. They just need to get a first down. It's over. And we flip the field again. That is super impressive. And that is all AG and his personnel putting together a game plan to get in there and get after Baker and to make the plays necessary. We had it. You should have booted the 58-yard field goal. But we had it. That is a huge improvement. And it all starts up front with DJ Reader and Aiden Hutchinson and Ali McNeil and Levi Onwuzurike and our DBs that actually played pretty well tonight, outside of an early penalty and Godwin having a pretty good game. They limited Evans and everybody else and did a pretty damn good job tonight. Still held the team under 20, my magic number. We just couldn't score 21. So this is huge. This is huge. You see, Steve, you're right there with me. We held them to 20, but we couldn't get 20. That was the problem tonight. Two really good defenses going at it. They just held us to 16 off of a few bad plays.
Yeah, there's nothing that is going to make any sense to anybody. There's no way to justify this. It's a massive error on my part, no one else's. And it was just between hurry up field goal and clocking it. And it was 100% my fault, 100%. And that's why we have guys on the field, we're trying to clock it. And it's just, it's one of those things we work over and over. And we're good. We've been good. We do everything, and then I mess it up. So.
Yeah, I know you want to watch the film, but 1 for 7 in the red zone, just watching it live, what was the issue there? Why did you guys struggle so much? You're so good last year, third in the league, and that's been kind of an issue here to start the season.
Yeah, I mean, look, they do change up their coverage a little bit, which we knew they would. They do a good job. There's a few things they hang their hat on, and they played one particular coverage and really pushed out to the flats on some things, and they buzzed pretty hard under some routes, and and so we just.
So that's kind of what I was talking about earlier. Is when you get in real close to the goal line and you've got a really fast defense, physical, aggressive defense, they can beat you to the sideline. They can beat you to the play more often than not. And that's why I can't stand like those hitch plays that Ben calls, the quick hitch, the quick out, whatever you want to call it. I can't stand those plays. They go nowhere. They never have. We don't do it right. What I'm looking for is, why didn't we send Amon-Ra, in motion and you do a direct snap to him? Same thing with JMO. You could do a direct snap to JMO. Or, when Stafford used to do that bump pass to Tate, that bump pass is perfect. Snap and bump it, to Tate or to Tate. Bump it to JMO or bump it to St. Brown. You can do that behind the 10-yard line and have, or wherever, and have way more success than those little hitch routes that don't go anywhere. Because you could have guys out there blocking, right? You could have a stacked, set out there and they can go down and block. Yeah, we talked about it last season. Spot on, Altour. They go nowhere. They never. Why are we still using it? They just think it's going to break one of these times? The only thing that's breaking is us. They need to burn that part of the playbook and never, put it back in. But anyway, that's kind of what I was saying earlier. What Dan is talking about right now is, really good defense getting to the flats, just beating you, especially when you're in a short field in the red zone.
Just never felt real comfortable, and then once you get out far enough, you end up in these third and longs down in the red zone, and it's just, that's where it gets pretty hard. You start getting up there close to the 10-yard line, and it's hard to throw it from there with what they can do coverage-wise. So we couldn't quite get in a rhythm. We couldn't get in the sync, and ultimately it hurt us.
Here's something I got to say real quick. They put all this money into this podium. Meyer did, right? I don't even see the podium. Where's the podium? Why has he got to bend over? Like, those microphones should be up in his face. Poor Dan. He just can't win with this podium issue.
Yeah, well, pre-snap, it's 18 seconds before the clock starts. And then if you're just saying pre-snap, offensively, it'd be 14, 15 seconds. If you need to push it, you can go 14.
And with the injuries on their side, Winfield out, Vega going out, is there a level of frustration that you guys weren't able to accomplish more?
Man, well, yeah, it is. You always, you feel, hey, their starters are out in this area. And Winfield's a hell of a player, believe me. For him not to be in there, because he's a headache. But, I mean, how many guys have we had out the last 2 years and the backups step in and just kick ass? And it's like, man, this league, there's so many great players in this league, and it's why you get coached to do what you do. And I think a lot of times you actually pay a little closer attention to those guys because you want to help them. If you're that coach, coordinator, you don't want to put them in a compromising position. You allow people to help them a little bit. So, and so, yeah, of course we'd like to do more, but the bottom line, you just got to win. You got to find a way to win. And it doesn't matter if you got
Great Lakes State guy, you're panicking. You're panicking. I know you called it in the early part, but you're panicking. No panicking yet. It's early. Oh, shoot. I didn't mean to do that.
Closer attention to those guys because you want to help them. If you're that coach, coordinator, you don't want to put them in a compromising position. You allow people to help them a little bit. So, and so, yeah, of course we'd like to do more, but the bottom line, you just got to win. You got to find a way to win.
So, Buddy, I will say this, Buddy Kinkido. He says, I do not like the offensive play calling. Also, offensive line does not look good. Goff didn't take any sacks tonight. And I know that sounds weird because he was on the ground quite a bit. And he got rocked tonight a few times. Late hit on the one, but man, he got rocked. He just stone cold, taken out a couple of times tonight. The offensive line looks good. but we don't look like we have the same, how do I say, I don't want to really say violence at the snap, but something is missing there. And I'm not sure what it is, but something is missing. Now, we've seen it wake up in overtime. That's the offensive line that we know. During the game this week and last week, it just seems like something's missing there. Aggression? I don't know. I can't say that it's Zeitler, but something is missing. I don't know. Maybe it's time that maybe everyone was right about Decker. I don't know. I got to look at the stats. I got to look and see, how much pressure these guys are giving up, and what's really happening here. Because let me put it this way too: we've gone up against some really good defenses, extremely fast, physical, violent, aggressive defenses in week 1 and 2. Matter of fact, the last 5 games have been extremely difficult. We are going through a gauntlet of a schedule right now. And we have one of the hardest schedules in the league. The games are only going to get easier probably after Seattle. They'll start to get a little easier. But between the Rams and the Bucs and the Cardinals and the Seahawks, man, that is a nutty schedule. Nutty schedule.
It doesn't matter if you got all your starters. It doesn't matter if you got all your backups. You got to find a way to win.
Coach, they were talking over there about, this is a big win for them and what happened here last year.
Yeah.
Could you talk about how there's not only that revenge factor with teams like you played the playoffs last year, but pretty much everybody who's going to play the Lions, it's going to be a big deal for them.
I got you, Riley. No problem, man. I got you. We're going to beat the Cardinals. I don't doubt that, but it's going to be a tough game.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we talked about as a team going in this year. That was, we felt like we kind of crossed over into this threshold, this new threshold of, all right, we're perceived as a team that is finding ways to win. We're pretty tough, physical. We play a certain way. We go to the NFC Championship game, and so, that's a notch in your hat, man. That's you do that, and it. I mean, that speaks volumes. I mean, we're going to Arizona this week. That for them, that's going to be a huge win. They find a way to beat us, and so they're going to have plenty of motivation for that. But we talk about it as a team, and we know we're going to get everybody's best, and that's a good team there. It is a good team. And I know they got players out, but it is a good team, and it was a good team last year when we faced them twice. But that's the bottom line, and really.
So there's something there too. They say it's extremely difficult to beat the same team twice in a year. And this is the 3rd time we've played the Bucs in a year. Now, I think it was, week 5 last year that we played the Bucs. And then, of course, in the playoffs, and then now. So, yeah, it's been a year, 3 times. And we've beaten them 2 out of 3 times. And this is a really good team. The first time our defense had their way with them, or was it the second game now? See, I get confused. I know the first score was a lot better for the Lions, like 20-6 or whatever. But this is a team that is going to end up being one of our rivals that always used to be one of our rivals, right? It is a great matchup for us. Always has been, always will be. And what Dan was just saying, they got some players out, so it's perceived that we should go in and just kind of have our way with these guys. I heard a lot of people saying that last year against the Seahawks. And I'm like, yeah, I was one of them, probably in the pregame show when I said, yeah, there's some opportunity here. Like, you've got some guys that are out on this offensive line. You should be able to take advantage of it. You've got young guys in, or guys without experience, rookies, whoever was in. And Hutch couldn't do anything that game. So there is something to be said here that this is the NFL, right? These guys are all great. Some are just better than others, and some are elite. Very few are elite. And tonight, I think that we've seen Hutch have a really good matchup, And there was really not much Tampa could do with it, but try to go away from him and spread our defense out, which is what they did. And when they spread our defense out, that's when, Baker was able to escape through the pocket and hurt us with his legs and pick up that critical first down and then go and fire a strike for a first down. And then next thing you know, they're on the other side of the field. So very, very talented people or players, behind the starters, and Tampa was ready tonight. They were ready tonight.
Really, all these games are going to come down to what just happened there. It's going to come down to the end of the game a lot of times. And so that's the world we're in. And our guys know that. They know that.
I agree with you, Rob. Our players need to get this rust out. And I know that we did the joint practice early in camp this year, but man, we've got to get our starters. I think that, you put them in maybe a series in the first game, maybe 2 series in the second game, and maybe 1 series in the third game, and call it a wrap, right? At least get them working it out. At least get them, in a game situation where they've got some tape and start getting the rust knocked off. Because if you're only going up against yourself, then, you kind of know how to handle each other. You do it every day. You need to get some different guys in there. So they need to start playing in the preseason. They just do. I think that they do. I think that's part of the problem. They don't want to risk injury yet. We are all sorts of injured everywhere.
Yeah, Goff does a great job. He'll rebound. He'll rebound.
And Trace, I appreciate you pushing the likes. If you guys would just take a brief second, help the channel out with some likes, that would be great. And if you guys are coming to the Monday night game, I just want to throw this out there. All right, we got these new necklaces that we put together. And these are all extremely shiny crystal beads. And it's on a stretchy necklace, right? These are going to be ready for the Monday night game, because in the Monday night game, it's super shiny. There's lights going everywhere. You got the, little wristband lights. So we're going to try to sell a bunch of these so that we can really sparkle up Ford Field. And all the proceeds are going to go to the Rock Down Cancer Foundation. So we should have a couple hundred of them ready. They'll be available on the Buy Me a Coffee product page or the shops page. And I'll also have a booth at the Monday night game with Uperman's tailgate. I'll be with them all day, and I'll have a bunch of them, and they'll be ready for you guys. So come visit us. I'll put the information out before the Monday night game.
Has he played better? Yeah, he's played better. But I know him, and he never stays down. He's going to be in immediately. He's going to look at it tonight. He's going to come in tomorrow, and he's going to take ownership, and he's just going to be better. That's the way he's wired, and it's what makes him who he is. And so that's it. And once again, man, we just, everybody around him, we got to help, and everybody do your job, and everybody's got a role on the team, and we all kind of help each other out. So he'll get in the rhythm, he'll be fine, and we got plenty around him to help as well. Yeah. Yep.
Why do you think he was able to break through today? What did that do for him? This type of performance?
Well, once again, Hutch. His amount of growth. It goes without saying, his motor is unbelievable. This guy's, to be able to play at the rate that he plays at that intensity for that many snaps in a game is it's rare. And then on top of that, he's got talent, and he's continued to develop his different moves. He's got different moves now. He's developed, he's got the long arm, he's got the spin, he can dip and rip, he can chop, he can swat. And so if you ever get one-on-one, he's going to eat you up. More times than not. And I would say they held the ball a little bit more today than what we saw last week. These guys tried to push it a little bit more, 5-step. And early, I didn't feel like they were helping on some of the passes, whereas the game got later, they were not going to allow that anymore, and they chipped and nudged, and so he's having to try to beat double teams. But he's a force right now. He's a force.
You had an opportunity to kick 59 and then look up.
You had an opportunity to kick a 59-yard field goal early in the fourth quarter. They had just come off a scoring drive. How much did that impact your decision there? How much do you think about letting Jake play there?
Yeah, it really didn't. It really didn't enter my. I mean, it was, yes, there was a thought, but not enough to sway me. Like, I just felt like, man, the best thing here was, we need to green light this thing and get down there and find a way to score a touchdown. And I just felt like that's where we were at with it. And our defense was playing good, but you just felt like this game we were just about to cross over into, high performance. The next first down, the next offensive, we were about to just take off. And this thing's gonna end up in the end zone. And
Little shout out here to Sports Talk with Rob on the super chat, man. Really appreciate you. He says, I don't ever want to see Goff throw the ball over 50 times. Maybe 40 at the max. Man, what a tough night. They did to us what we tried to do to the Rams, and it just didn't work in our favor. So anyway, we've got a lot more to talk about. Obviously, we'll be on in the morning talking about a lot more, and probably dig more into it honestly on Tuesday. It's going to take a little bit of time to get through some tape, and I still got to figure out how to get some sleep, right? But Dan Campbell, look, you can't not respect who he is as a coach, as an individual, as a leader of men. He really epitomizes the best of the best here in Detroit, and he's doing an excellent job. Don't panic. It's only week 2. We expected to have a few losses this season. Absolutely. A lot of us did not expect to have this one. Maybe we should have. Maybe we set ourselves up for a trap. I don't think that the Lions overlooked them at all. At all. I don't think the Lions overlooked them. And this was just a case of, hey, sometimes you got it, sometimes you don't. And it's only week 2. Give it a couple more weeks. I think that now when you're starting to see this bye week be a little early, I think it's going to help us. I think it's going to help us a whole lot more than it is going to hurt us, because we're going to need some rest. We've got some injuries that are creeping up. Guys are already banged up, and they're going to need a break to just kind of reset and go all in for the last 3 quarters of the season. And it's going to be needed. So I think that I think the bye week is good for us. I really do. I think it's going to be right at the right time. And look, if we can get there, 3-1 or 2-2, I'd be fine with that. There's still plenty of games that we're going to be able to win. I guess where I'll finish here is, I told y'all Sam Darnold had an arm. I told y'all Sam Darnold had an arm. I told y'all Sam Darnold had an arm. You cannot count. And I told y'all the Vikings' middle of their defense was going to be insanity with those linebackers, Cashman and Van Ginkel and everybody. I mean, come on. Insanely good defense there. This is going to be a tough team. They're going to be one of the tougher teams we face in our division. We got a lot to talk about this week. There's a lot of great games that happened today. There's a lot of great things that happen in the Lions game, and there's some bad things. We'll pick it apart. We'll get to it by Tuesday. But over-under in the morning, over-under reaction, panic button, whatever you want to call it tomorrow morning, and a whole bunch of other things we'll be talking about. So I'll see you guys back here at 8 a.m. for the Rise and Grind Morning Show. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday night. Get some sleep, because that's where I'm headed. You guys have a great night. Take care. Bye-bye.
Adam Schefter at ESPN says there's 275,000 people.
Well, that was some party in downtown Detroit. 775,000 people, shattering the NFL draft attendance record.
is the future.
Ball grip.
Evolution. This is the future.
Ball grip.